Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. As she completes 3 years in office, has the Chief Minister of Rajasthan run into trouble, or are the press misrepresenting the situation? That's the key issue I shall raise today in an exclusive interview with Vasundhara Raje. Chief Minister, on Friday you marked 3 years in office as Chief Minister, an anniversary that comes at a time when there's mounting criticism of your government and yourself. Have you run into a bad patch, or is the press misrepresenting you?
I don't think I've run into a bad patch, Karan. There have been so many interesting things we've managed to do. And I think that as I sit here at the end of 3 years in Rajasthan, I have cause to look back and feel proud of some of the things that I have done. One of the main things, of course, is the fact that we've been able to get ourselves out of financial trouble. To be able to create fiscal health in Rajasthan was considered a huge challenge. We've turned around, and by next year's budget, we're going to be in surplus.
So I
think that's an amazing first way.
Are you satisfied with your performance as you view it after 3 years?
If you want me to put it very short, I am satisfied, but I believe there's still a lot of work to be done. 3 years is a very small period in the life of any state.
So out of 10, at this moment in time, to give yourself 5, 6, 7, how would you rate yourself?
That I think is very unfair. I don't think I would rate myself. I'd leave it to people like you to do that. After, of course, fairly looking at the kind of work I've done.
All right, let me then give you a chance to answer your critics, and let me begin by talking to you about the allotment of land at a heavily discounted price in the center of Jaipur to the Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Trust. Now, I know that the trust on Tuesday has withdrawn its application, but as you know, a lower court has ordered the filing of an FIR and an inquiry by December the 11th, and the Rajasthan High Court has entertained 3 public interest litigations. Are you embarrassed by this?
Not at all, because if I had been doing something wrong, then I would be very embarrassed about it. But the fact of the matter is, apart from the fact that it is sub judice, there has been no land allotment made.
So far?
The trust is been registered under the Indian Public Trusts Act, and very legally. I believe that it was going to be doing some good work for the people. And let me tell you, I was certainly not taking the land home with me. Unlike some people in Rajasthan, mainly the previous Chief Minister, who actually allotted to his father for an Academy of Magic, a very, very important piece of land in Rajasthan. That, I must say, I have not done.
Let me put to you the charge that's made against you. It said that, is it fitting that as Chief Minister, you should have allotted land at 5% of the reserve price to a trust of which you are chairperson, and after you, your legal heirs and your nominees? Was that fitting?
No, I don't think that that is how it works. I believe that the Chief Minister, not in just the state of Rajasthan, but in most other states, as also Prime Ministers, are heading a whole lot of charitable trusts for the reason of their name, and because of the opportunity that that name can provide.
So you're not a beneficiary of this trust?
There is absolutely no way that I would be a beneficiary of this trust.
But then why is your legal heir nominee your successor?
That is, I think, a legal manner in which these particular trusts and deeds are made out.
So you're saying the Congress is misunderstanding the nature of trust when they point out that you're a beneficiary of it?
The Congress is deliberately making this out, knowing full well the kind of activities that they have been up to over the last so many years, knowing full well that this trust has not even been formulated.
You're brilliant at deflecting the attention on Congress. You've already accused your predecessor of actually having set up a trust to benefit his father, I believe. You said, let me pursue the point as Congress puts it in your case. Congress says that the second thing that's gone wrong is that the cabinet subcommittee that agreed to reduce the price to just 5% of the reserve price was headed by your Home Minister, who is a member of the trust. He's a trustee, and his job exists on your grace and favor. Was that fitting and proper?
I think that we would be watching this through, as the matter is sub judice just now, Karan. It would not be a very good idea to talk too much about it. But I know that this is a trust that would have been working, as all the Deen Dayal trusts across the country, for the benefit of people who are not so fortunate as many of us.
And that excuses his role in reducing the price?
I do believe that this trust would have been working very well, and that it would have carried on. It wouldn't have probably devolved with just us. It would carry on to other members.
What about the fact that it's also pointed out that procedural rules were violated? To begin with, the land was allotted a month before the trust was registered. More importantly, it said that under the rules of the Jaipur Development Authority, a trust cannot benefit from concessional land unless it's existed for 3 years. This clearly hasn't existed for even a year.
No, but let me tell you one thing. The government has every right to be able to waive off conditions, to give lands to trusts where they feel that the trust will be doing good work.
But that's the problem, isn't it? Doesn't your connection with the trust create a problem?
I have absolutely no problem in saying that if there are NGOs or organizations or trusts that are doing good work for the people, it's a very good thing to go with. I am very clear about the fact that this is not something that would have benefited me personally as it would have benefited
Two quick questions. If you're so clear that nothing wrong was happening, then why abruptly on Tuesday night did the trust withdraw? You withdrew it. You withdrew it.
No, the trust withdrew that.
Why?
Because I believe that a person like Shyama Prasad Mukherjee or Deen Dayal Upadhyay, in whose names these trusts are made by the RSS across the country, if people are going to be pointing fingers at those kind of people and organizations that have done good work for people across, it's not right.
So in other words, it was a political decision to avoid a bigger problem.
I believe that there is also a reason, very clear reason in this, that there were certain issues that we could not have fulfilled. Apparently, the trust felt that if some of these issues cannot be waived by the Jaipur Development Authority, it would not be beneficial to them or for the trust to carry on with this work. And so as a result, the second one that they did say was that it would be important that if these rules were not worked upon, then I'm afraid we would not be able to go ahead with the trust.
The press and your opponents, particularly the Congress party, say that in fact the reason a hasty decision was taken on Tuesday to withdraw the application is to exculpate the government from a serious problem. You faced a legal problem, you were trying to exculpate yourself from what could be a major embarrassment.
Well, there's nothing that I can do to ask you people to step back from something like that. That will carry on, but I am sure that everyone will see the light of day. This is sub judice just now, and I don't think it's fair for me to be able to bring on or talk about these issues.
Is your conscience
My conscience is absolutely clean, and I know very clearly that it's not land that I will be taking home with me.
On the 29th of November, the High Court asked your government to consider a show cause notice asking why the CBI shouldn't be allowed to inquire. Will you permit a CBI inquiry?
I'm afraid I don't know what the reasons here are and what the movements on these cases are. There are 4 or 5 cases, as far as I know, in court at this moment, and it would be only right that I check with my lawyers.
But you won't stand in the way of any legal inquiry?
I have no idea about where the CBI would fit in.
Let's take up a second issue that's also, in this last year, tarnished the image of your government. In April, you passed the Rajasthan Freedom of Religious Bill. It was set to tackle conversion by fraud, force or allurement. The chief whip of the Congress party, Zubair Khan, publicly challenged you to prove that even one such forced or false conversion was taking place. He says you haven't been able to reply to him. Let me ask you a simple question. Why was this bill needed?
I think in this day and age, it's very, very important that bills of this nature are brought in by government. It's been brought in other states. It's very important that we brought it in Rajasthan also. I don't want any kind of problems between religious communities. It's as simple as that.
Your Home Minister, Gulab Chand Kataria, was piloting the bill in the Rajasthan Assembly on the date in April when it was passed, said that the bill was to check, and I'm quoting, conversion activities by the Christian community in Kota. I put it to you that when nationwide Christian figures are falling, and when in Rajasthan there is only 0.11% of the population that's Christian compared to 89% that's Hindu, there is no conversion happening whatsoever.
That is how you would like to see it. That's how we would all like to see it. Unfortunately, we had a huge case of the Emmanuel Mission. The Emmanuel Mission operates out of some
49 actually.
39 or 49 across, since you know about it, across Rajasthan. And all of these work in the name of orphans, but carry conversions through their...
Are you accusing the Emmanuel Mission of forced or conversion by allurement?
No, I'm not accusing anyone until it's proven that those cases are also in court. But on record and on what we've seen, we do believe that there is some things that are happening which should not be happening. And I believe at the end of the day, to keep the communities living together peacefully, it's important to have laws in place that will see to it that such things don't happen.
Let me tell you the problem with this law. PUCL says that since you took over in December 2003, they estimate that there have been almost 100, maybe slightly over 100 attacks on Christians in Rajasthan. Recently, the Emmanuel Mission has been targeted, its schools have been stoned, its buses have been burnt, Archbishop Thomas has been threatened. PUCL points out that all of this will get worse now.
No, 1 minute. You do, of course, realize that they wrote a book called Hakikat, a book
They
which
didn't write
talks-
it, they were simply selling it.
I'm
They're
sorry,
not the authors
no,
of
I'm
it.
sorry about that, but it is not true, because the government of India has in fact helped us to go right down to Kerala to make arrests, Madhya Pradesh to Kerala, to find the people who have actually done it. And the names that have come up, I'm afraid, are the Thomases. And as a result of that book, there was a huge unrest that took place in Kota. People almost came to blows over it. And people almost lost their lives over it. I don't believe that such a thing should be allowed any place.
You don't think this
and
is a sledgehammer to crack a nut?
No, I'm sorry, it's not a sledgehammer, because the kind of filth that was written in that book would bring any community to rage. I must make it very clear to you that as far as what was written in the book was concerned, it was not just the Hindus. They talked about the Buddhists, they talked about a whole lot of people. And I believe that it is not right for anyone to talk about any other religion in that disrespectful tone.
Chief Minister,
it did
you may
create
be
that
right
kind of
about
problem.
the book Hakikat, you may be right about the Thomas's personal involvement, although many people will be surprised that
That's
an
just an
archbishop
example.
is involved.
That
But
is
do you
just an
need an
example.
anti-conversion bill that appears to target the entire Christian community to take care of a small particular
No, I don't
problem?
believe it's just the Christians. It's an anti-conversion bill.
Are
And
you
it gives-
pandering to
No,
Hindu
I am
votes
not,
when you do this?
I am not pandering to anyone's votes, and I think that it's important that you listen to the fact that anywhere there should be a religious freedom. We allow that kind of religious freedom in every state, I'm sure, in India, but we must learn to live with each other respectfully.
Can I
and
put
these
you-
bills or this law
can I stem
will
the
see to
flow of
that.
your answer and put a question to you? Your critics point out that the one thing they took for granted because of your background and your upbringing is that you will be secular. With this bill, and what they say is the motivation behind it, they say you've betrayed yourself.
I don't think so, because I'm very clear about the fact that the intention of the bill was to keep the peace in the
Then
state.
why 8 months after it's been passed has the governor refused to sign it? Why even 6 months after you sent it back a second time
That's the
has she
governor's
refused?
prerogative.
Isn't
But
it
as far
because she's
as-
got serious problems?
No, it's the governor's prerogative. As far as the Rajasthan government is concerned, we would like to see this bill passed, because we would, and we do believe, that people and religions have to live in peace with each other.
You're not going to withdraw the bill at the governor's behest?
At the moment, we have no such idea.
At the moment, so you may do so.
No, we may not do so.
Ah, you're leaving it open though.
I leave it open. I always leave it open. I'd like to see what the best
Suddenly
situation is
you're
for
not
people.
so sure about this bill.
I'm very sure about
Suddenly
keeping
hesitation
peace.
has crept into it.
And no hesitation, Karan. I'm very clear about
And
the
yet you
fact
may
that there
still
will be
withdraw the
peace
bill. You're
in-
still leaving open the
I
possibility.
still maintain that we will keep the peace in the state.
Ah, but you may withdraw the bill if that's a way of keeping the peace.
No, it depends on how and where it's going to be utilized.
It depends on how and where. Let's take a break at that point. Uncertainty's crept in, no doubt. You and I can't answer it.
Let me make
The
it very
audience
clear.
will
No,
answer
we
it.
are not uncertain about this. We are very clear about the fact that this is what was required at this point in time.
At this point in
Yes.
time. You're using very clever language. Let's take a break at that point. I want to come back. And in part two, I want to talk to you about criticism that's been made about you yourself. Is it justified, or is the press picking on you? We'll be back in a moment's time for the second part of this exclusive. Welcome back to an exclusive interview with the Chief Minister of Rajasthan, Vasundhara Raje. Chief Minister, this year alone, there have been controversies about a case with Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, about walking the ramp allegedly in Bangalore and Jaipur, about ministers who allegedly prayed to you, and about a Mercedes and a plane that your government has, it's reported, bought for you. Now, once again, is the press creating controversies where none exist, or do you accept that mistakes have been made?
Let's take the first point. If, Karan, somebody gave you a hug or kissed you on television today, nobody would even notice it, would they?
Unless it was the Chief Minister?
No, nobody would have noticed it. I'm saying two men. But perhaps this was noticed only because of the fact that we were two women.
So it was an
And
innocent
so it was
case,
really,
nothing more.
it was really a very anti-feminist thing, and just press being sensationalist.
What about the
I think that they should
allegation
be.
that you walked the ramp? Were you modeling clothes, or once again are you claiming that the press misunderstood your intention?
Look, I've been a small industries minister at the center for 4 years. And in that 4 years, I worked very closely with small industries and also with khadi and village industries. I know that this is the backbone of the economy of Rajasthan. You know that. Handicrafts, textiles, artifacts. These are some things that people come all the way to Rajasthan, Jaipur to buy. And as far as I'm concerned, I have a very vibrant industry. But a lot of these people have actually drifted away from this because there was nothing to be gained from the industry.
So you were promoting
Now,
handicrafts?
we have revived these each of these we have revived. We have brought them out, shown them off. And the story that actually took place over here, and that's the important story, is what happened to the lives of the weavers. And that, I'm afraid, was missed. As far as I was concerned, if, like Mrs. Thatcher, I was able to, well, promote my textile, I would do it with great pleasure. Because you remember that she actually wore all those British clothes only to show them off. British fashion became a thing because of her.
So you're saying that as Chief Minister, it is your duty to promote handicrafts, and if need be, you will wear Rajasthani handicrafts, and if need be, you'll walk the ramp, because that's your job, to promote weavers and handicrafts.
You can say that, absolutely, because that is my job, and it is also a great sense of pride that I wear what they give me.
Then tell me something, in both these instances, in the case of the kiss, which you claim was an innocent kiss and it's a sensationalized story, and in the case of the ramp, is the press picking on you because you're a woman?
You know something, I think that even this discussion that we've had so far, we're actually missing the point. I think basically, you wouldn't be asking all these questions or talking to me in this fashion if probably I was a male chief, a male chief minister.
Women are easy targets for the press.
No, because for some reason there is a kind of condescension in all of this. Why is it that you haven't asked me how I have done as far as my revenue is concerned in Rajasthan?
I began by asking you how you've done. I asked you at the beginning how many marks you gave yourself as Chief Minister.
Yeah, but I mean marks. It's not a question of marks. As far as I'm concerned, I want to be very clear. I need to tell you, and you need to know, not in a wonderful condescending fashion as you're doing just now, you need to know that the capital investment when I took over was only 1,500 crores. And today it's gone up to 4,500 crores. You need to know that the revenue deficit was 22% when I took over and is now down to 0. You also need to know that the fiscal deficit, which was at 5.5%, is now down to 3.3, down by 40%. Even the government of India hasn't been able to take it past 6%.
Do you take credit for all of that?
Yes, of course I take credit for the fact that we
You
made
personally, as Chief Minister, take credit for this.
It's not Chief Minister, I'm also the Finance Minister of the state. And I want you to understand that the revenue growing at the rate of 20% year on year, the commercial tax revenue when I took over was stagnant.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the figures, Rajasthan has done brilliantly here, and we've actually managed to come out of the Bimaru rut. And we've become an investment destination. Does that not mean anything to you?
It means a lot, and I've deliberately, no, it means a lot, and I've deliberately allowed you not just to tell those figures to the audience, but to claim credit. Now I want to put to you...
Excuse me, Karan. Excuse me, Karan. Allowed? That's a very, very anti-feminist way of dealing with it.
Not anti-feminist, but it might be anti-Chief Minister, whoever the Chief Minister is.
Not at all.
Let me now come back to the question I want to ask you. The papers have reported, and this has become an issue in the state, that your Urban Development Minister, Pratap Singhvi, worships you. It said that he has a photograph of you posing like Goddess Durga, sitting on a tiger, and the caption says, "Ma teri surat se alag, Bhagwan ki kya surat hogi."
This is only one.
Do you approve of that?
I mean, do I approve of it or do I not? It's a question of your life and how you live it.
But he's embarrassing you. Why does he do this?
Can I actually tell you what to do? Can I actually tell people what to do when I find out about it? Of course I'll tell him you're embarrassing me, but I mean, it's a bit ridiculous. Why don't we just get back to the... Why can we not get back to the kind of work?
I'll tell you why. Because people like this deflect attention.
Me. Why are we on frivolities? Why are we on issues that make no difference to the state?
Let me ask one last issue which I think is important. Rajasthan is a state where 31% of the population live below the poverty line. The total state debt is amounting to 60,000 crore. Yet the newspapers report that your government is about to spend 40 lakhs on an E-Class Mercedes for you and 25 crore on a Beach King aircraft. Is that justified?
Let me make one thing very clear to you. We have bought a car, but we bought a Toyota Corolla. It's not a Mercedes. And perhaps the press, which is so clever at picking up all these wonderful things, could have just found out a little bit more about it. They would have discovered it's a Corolla and not a Mercedes.
And what about the plane?
As far as the plane is concerned, Rajasthan happens to be the largest state in the Union of India. For the Chief Minister of Rajasthan to travel, to reach parts of a state at short notice, which is absolutely a must, she can't travel by bullock cart.
What happened to the old
by
plane?
Bus.
What happened to the old plane?
There is a very old plane, it's 27 years old, and I believe that it's not in a really great condition. And perhaps if you want the Chief Minister to be around to actually move from district to district, or even the governor for that matter, who uses the plane as much as the Chief Minister, you would need a plane that can get you there safely.
My last question. You have convincing answers on the kiss. You have a very convincing answer on the allegation that you walked the ramp. You have good answers on the car and the plane. Why haven't you made them available earlier to the press? You could have ended the controversy if you had been more outspoken. But your silence allowed it to build up and get worse.
I believe that the press also needed to come and find out more about it. Since the press, when you write about it, shouldn't you find out both sides of the story, Karan?
Chief Minister, you've just given us the opportunity to clear the air. Thank you very much for talking to Devil's Advocate.
Thanks.